remember I came up by, I have half an inch. I came in by half an inch first. So this half an inch, by the time we open, you remember that this is placed on fold. Remember that this is placed on fold. So remember that I have this placed on fold. So by the time you open this, you then have 1 inch distance between the two cups. All right. So that is this 1 inch I came in by. And remember that I came up by by 1 inch. So this 1 inch is just how deep. Remember, we're no longer using this part. So this 1 inch is the same thing as me saying I want 8.75 inches to be the depth of my neckline. So if you're not comfortable with 8.75 inches, you could also from this point come up by 2 inches. And if you measure from here, coming up by 2 inches will give you exactly 8 inches. If you're not comfortable with the 8 inches, you could also go up. But then by the time you come up to like 7, you remember that we would have something like a sweetheart neckline. So by the time you come up by that, the sweetheart neckline would have it wouldn't be that prominent anymore because you already moved so it wouldn't be prominent, it just not to be prominent. All right. So now I'm only coming up by 1 inch. You could even decide to come up by 1.5 inch, right? So I'm only using 1 inch. So let me make a line. So I have this. So now I could go ahead to place my curve tool. Just note, I hope you can see how I am placing it, and I'll make a line, a curved line that would come to this extended line I have here. Line here. Now let's go over to our dart intake. That will help us to connect the line here and also make the other curve coming this way. So on this point, remember that I took 1 inch on this part and 1 inch on this part. So if you want, it is your choice to also put 1 inch here and 1 inch here. But in this case, I want to go down by, I'm going to reduce it by half an inch. So instead of using 1 inch on both sides, I'd rather use 0.75 on both sides. So it is totally and absolutely fine if you feel if you want to use 1 inch, just exactly what you used here. Even if it is 1.5 and 1.5 here, you can also add it back here. All right. So it will help you not have any form of gapping. All right. That is, you wouldn't be having space here when you wear it, and it would relax on your chest. I think I've said this before. So I lost the following clip. Following the part where after where I marked half 0.75 inches on both sides. So I decided to illustrate on this paper. It's exactly the same thing as if I used inches, but I actually used the centimeters part of the rule. So once from the line coming from your shoulder, once you've marked 0.75 and 0.75 on both sides of that line, you want to take your curve, your pattern master or your French curve, just whatever would give you that curve, and then you want to make a curve. All right. So because I'm using the free hand, it's looking rough, but you should use a curve tool. And then you also want to use your curve tool to make a curve touching this point. I came up by half an inch. So you use your curve tool to make a curve touching this point. You also use a curve tool to make a point touching here. Now we're done with making the curve for the center front. Now to continue with the curve to make for the side front, what you do is you simply take your tape and measure what you have from your bust point to your under bust. So whatever you have, for me I had 3, right? So you mark down your 3, and then you're going to add half an inch because we want the side curve to contain the tail of the bust. If yours is bigger, then you might want to use 1 inch. So you add another half inch to give you 4 inches, depending on your bust size though. So I have 3.5 here. So I'll come down by an inch. So I have an inch to be around here. So when I come down by an inch, I'll simply make a line across there. So this new line, why this new line was made is because when you're done with your corset and you want to attach your boning, you don't want it to be poking the armhole, which will make you really uncomfortable. So that was why I came down by an inch. All right. So the next thing you're going to do is to also extend this point, this 3.5 you have here, up to this point, and then you want to take your curved ruler to make a curve meeting this point, like so. So once that is done, you also take your curve tool again to make a curve coming to this point. So you see here is not blending, so you can also take the edge of your curve tool, the very pointy part, to blend here to join this line. like that. So this stands as my new bust line. All right, so I'm done with making the cups. So let's get back to the main video. At least I have some clips from that side.